I'm sitting alone in my apartment, still wearing the dress from last night, mascara smudged across my cheeks, trying to process what happened. 2 years after our planned engagement dinner, I, a 28-year-old woman, walked away from my 30-year-old fiancé, James. 3 years ago, we met at a charity gala. James, a finance professional from a wealthy family, moved in elite circles far removed from my modest upbringing. I'm a public school teacher who worked through college with scholarships and part-time jobs. Despite our different worlds, we clicked instantly. His charm, wit, and apparent admiration for my independence and dedication to teaching drew me in. I fell deeply for him, and he seemed just as smitten. 2 weeks ago, during a romantic coastal getaway, he proposed with a breathtaking emerald-cut diamond ring. I said yes without a second thought, overjoyed at the thought of our shared future. Last night, we celebrated our engagement at La Vigne, one of the city's most exclusive restaurants, with his parents. I'd met them before, but his father, Edward, a stern investment banker, always made me uneasy. His mother, Margaret, was polite but distant, tied to family legacy and social status. I spent hours preparing, wearing a sapphire dress I'd saved for months to buy, my hair swept into an elegant updo, and borrowed pearl earrings. I wanted desperately to prove I belonged. The evening started well, champagne, toasts, James's hand squeezing mine for reassurance. But during the main course, Edward turned to me, swirling his wine. "So, Emily," he said, "now that you're joining the family, we need to discuss the prenup." The table fell silent. James stiffened beside me. "Dad," James said with a nervous chuckle, "we haven't even picked a wedding date yet. Let's not rush things." Edward's face hardened. "Don't be foolish. Family assets must be protected." My cheeks flushed, but I kept my composure. "I understand the need for a fair prenup," I said calmly. Margaret gave a tight smile. "How practical of you." Edward's tone sharpened. "You've done well for yourself, haven't you? A teacher marrying into the Hamilton fortune. Your mother must be ecstatic. My mother died when I was 19, a fact James and his parents knew. She would have wanted me to be happy," I said softly, my appetite gone. Edward smirked. "Of course. Nothing delights a mother more than her daughter landing a rich husband." I looked to James, waiting for him to defend me. But he stared at his plate, silent. "I didn't say yes to James for his money," I said, my voice shaking. "I love him." "Of course, dear," Margaret said with saccharine sweetness. "The wealth is just a happy coincidence, isn't it?" Edward laughed coldly. "Let's not pretend. Ambitious young women from humble roots don't chase men like my son for their charm." I felt like I'd been struck. "Dad, please," James finally muttered, but his voice lacked strength. "What?" Edward snapped. "I'm just saying what everyone here knows. She's a gold digger, plain and simple." Then it happened. James let out a short, awkward laugh. Maybe nerves, maybe an attempt to diffuse the tension, but not a defense. That laugh shattered something in me. The room seemed to still. I looked at the man I thought I knew and saw him clearly for the first time. His silence was louder than words. Without a word, I slid the ring off my finger and placed it beside his glass. The faint clink echoed in my ears. "Emily," he started, realizing too late what was happening. I stood, grabbed my purse, and walked out of La Vigne. Not running, not crying, just walking, head high. I didn't look back, even when he called my name. Now, alone in my apartment, I wonder if I overreacted, if I threw away my future over one awful night. But that laugh, his silence, tells me I couldn't have stayed. Was I wrong to walk away? Should I have fought harder? Am I proving Edward right by leaving? I don't know what comes next, but I know I couldn't marry into a family that sees me as less, or stay with a man who wouldn't stand up for me. Act 2, 3 days later. 3 days have passed since I left La Vigne, and I'm still reeling. James showed up at my apartment the next morning, looking wrecked, unshaven, clothes rumpled, dark circles under his eyes. He held the ring in one hand, a bouquet of lilies in the other, as if grand gestures could erase what happened. "Please, Emily," he said softly. "Let me explain." I let him in but kept my distance, arms crossed. "I'm sorry about last night," he began. "My father was out of line. He'd had too much wine, and you know how he can be." "Do I?" I asked. "Because in 3 years, you never told me your father thinks I'm a gold-digging opportunist." He winced. "He doesn't really think that." "He does, James. And what hurts more is that you sat there and let him say it. You laughed." "It was just nervous laughter," he said, running a hand through his hair. "What was I supposed to do? Make a scene in La Vigne?" "You were supposed to defend me," I said, my voice cracking. "You were supposed to tell him I'm the woman you love, that I've never asked you for a dime, that I've worked hard my whole life. You were supposed to choose me." He set the ring on my coffee table. I'm on your side, Emily. I love you. My father's opinion doesn't matter. But it does, I said. Because you let him disrespect me. Because we might have kids one day, and I won't let them grow up hearing their grandfather call me a gold digger while their father stays silent. Silent agreement, he said, stunned. That's not what happened? Then what was it? I asked. He had no answer. Has your father always thought this of me? I pressed. His hesitation told me everything. Why didn't you tell me? Because it doesn't matter what he thinks, he said. I love you for you, your heart, your passion for teaching, your weird obsession with mystery novels. Who cares about my father? I care, I said firmly, because his views shape what our life would be like. Every holiday, every family event, I'd be the gold digger who trapped you, and you'd be the man who lets it happen. We can fix this, he pleaded. I'll make him apologize. We can delay the wedding until things settle. I looked at him and saw the truth. This isn't just about your father, James. It's about you. It's about who you are around him. I don't know that person, and I can't marry him. He left after an hour of back and forth, taking the ring with him. I've spent the last 2 days crying, questioning myself, then remembering that laugh, which steadies my resolve. My roommate Sarah has been a lifeline, bringing me ice cream and listening to my rants. James has called 17 times. Margaret texted me unexpectedly. Edward is stubborn, but he'll come around. Don't ruin your future over pride. As if standing up for myself was about ego. Yesterday, my principal called me into her office. Edward had contacted the school board, questioning my emotional fitness and professionalism. Thankfully, my principal, who's known me for 5 years, dismissed it as a personal matter. The fact that Edward tried to sabotage my career confirms I made the right choice. What would he do if we were married and I crossed him? I haven't told James about his father's actions. Part of me wants to see if he'll find out and act. Tonight, Sarah and I are opening a bottle of wine and holding a Burn the Wedding Magazines party. It's both healing and heartbreaking. I love James. I still do. But love isn't enough if he won't stand up for me when it matters. The hardest part is answering questions from friends and colleagues. I've kept it vague, saying we wanted different things. It's easier than explaining how the man I thought I'd marry sat silently as his father called me a gold digger, then laughed like it was a joke. My sister called from Seattle after I told her what happened. I always thought he was too eager to please his parents, she said. Remember how he canceled your holiday plans last year because his mom guilted him? She's right. There were signs. Small moments when James put his parents' wishes above mine. I brushed them off as him being a dutiful son. Now I see it was a deeper inability to stand on his own. Yesterday, I passed a bridal shop and saw a dress like one I'd saved for my wedding. For a moment, I felt the loss. Not just of James, but of the life we'd planned. The home, the kids, the future. But then I remembered Edward's sneer, his cold dismissal, and James's laugh. I made the right choice. Some update, 2 weeks later, 2 weeks since I ended our engagement, and the storm is settling. Teaching has been my refuge. Helping my third graders read brings a grounding simplicity when my life feels chaotic. I haven't spoken to James in 10 days. After countless calls and texts, he sent an email laying out his perspective. He said he still loves me but thinks I'm overreacting to one bad night. He suggested we pause until I'm ready to be rational, as if demanding respect is irrational. The most revealing part was the end. My family has expectations, Emily. They've sacrificed a lot for my life. Sometimes you accept imperfect situations for the greater good. The greater good meant his inheritance, his role in his father's firm, his status. I was expected to sacrifice my dignity. I didn't reply. 3 days ago, Margaret called and asked to meet for coffee. Against my instincts, I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe, far from her usual upscale spots. She looked less polished, more real, ordering a plain coffee and sitting across from me, hands clasped. I owe you an apology, Emily, she said. That dinner was unforgivable. I was stunned. Edward has old-fashioned views, she continued carefully, and James has always craved his approval, sometimes at a great cost. I noticed, I said dryly. She gave a small smile. I should have spoken up that night. I've spent 30 years smoothing Edward's edges, excusing him. I was wrong. Why tell me this now? I asked. She sighed. Because I see myself in you. 30 years ago, I was you. Humble roots, in love with a Hamilton man trying to prove my worth. I stayed, compromised, told myself it was worth it. I'm not sure it was. My chest tightened. Are you unhappy? Not entirely, she said. I've had a good life, wonderful children. But I've lost parts of myself. My voice, my confidence. When you walked out, I envied you. We talked for 2 hours. She shared stories of her early years with Edward, how his family treated her, how she molded herself to fit their world, and how James was becoming his father despite her efforts. "He loves you," she said as we parted. "More than anyone. But love isn't always enough, is it?" "No," I said, tears welling. "It isn't." She touched my hand. "Don't compromise yourself away, Emily. Not for anyone." I've been reflecting on her words since. Was she warning me, supporting me, saying goodbye? Maybe all three. This morning, flowers arrived from Edward with a note. My actions were inappropriate. No real apology, just acknowledgement. Classic Edward. I haven't told James about his parents' outreach. I'm curious if he'll learn of it and act. Sarah thinks I should block his number. My brother says I dodged a bullet, but it's not that simple. I didn't just lose James. I lost the future we envisioned. The house, the kids, the life. Dreams don't fade easily. I keep looking at my bare left hand, missing the ring's weight, yet relieved it's gone. Update. 1 month later. A month after that dinner, life has shifted in unexpected ways. Last weekend, I was packing up my apartment. I couldn't afford it on my teacher's salary without James's help when he showed up unannounced. Seeing him amid moving boxes and tape made my heart race. "You're moving?" he asked, shocked. "I can't afford this place alone," I said plainly. "I'll cover my share," he offered. "You don't have to leave." "I do," I said, setting down a stack of books. "Why are you here, James?" He'd come to tell me he'd left his father's firm for a job at a smaller financial advisory company across town. He showed me a letter from Edward, furious about his decision. "I should have done this years ago," he said quietly. "Been my own person, not his shadow." I invited him in, made coffee, and we talked, really talked, for the first time in years. He admitted he'd spent his life chasing his father's approval, even at the cost of his values. He acknowledged how he'd failed me, not just that night, but in smaller ways I hadn't noticed. "I don't expect you to take me back," he said. "I just wanted you to know you were right." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to embrace him, to start over, but I kept seeing his face at that dinner, the pause before that laugh. "I need time," I told him. "I'm proud of you for standing up to your father, but this isn't just about him." He nodded. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here." After he left, I felt a strange calm among my packed boxes. The future didn't feel like a void anymore. 2 days later, Margaret invited me to lunch. She said Edward was shaken by James's departure. She seemed lighter, almost vibrant. "He doesn't understand why James would leave everything for—" She trailed off. "For himself," I corrected. She smiled. "Yes, I suppose so." Before we parted, she gave me a velvet pouch containing a vintage amethyst ring. "This was my grandmother's," she said. "Edward thought it wasn't grand enough for a Hamilton wife, but it's all I have from my family. Whether you and James reconcile or not, I want you to have it, to remind you to hold on to your light." I tried to refuse, but she insisted it wasn't an engagement ring, but a bond between women who understood each other. I moved, not to the tiny apartment I'd planned, but to a house with a friend, Claire, closer to my school, with a yard for the herbs I've always wanted to grow. It feels right. Choosing what I want, not what fits someone else. James and I talk now, cautiously, over weekly coffee. No pressure, just honest conversations peeling back old assumptions. He's different away from his family, lighter, funnier, more himself. Last week, he asked if we could try again. I told him I need to know myself first, apart from him. He understood. Today, I wear Margaret's ring on my right hand, a promise to myself to never silence my voice or diminish my worth. I don't know if James and I will reconcile, if his changes will last, or if I'll ever fully trust him again. But walking out of Lavine was the hardest, most necessary thing I've done. Sometimes the toughest steps lead you back to yourself. Update. 6 months later. 6 months since that dinner, and it feels both fresh and far away. I'm on the porch of my new house, a cozy craftsman with green shutters and an oak tree out front. I use my wedding savings for the down payment. Each mortgage payment feels like a victory. This is mine, earned by me. James and I tried to rebuild for 3 months, honest talks, therapy, clear boundaries. He stayed at his new job despite Edward's pressure to return. He joined a group for adults with controlling parents. He was doing everything right. But something had shifted. At restaurants, I braced for men who resembled Edward. Meeting his colleagues, I searched their faces for judgment. The trust we'd lost wouldn't heal. 2 months ago, over dinner at my place, I found the courage to say it. "I don't think we can fix this," I said quietly. He set down his fork, sad but unsurprised. "Because of my father?" "No," I said honestly. "Because of us." I know what I need in a partner now, and you know who you need to be. I don't think we can give that to each other. We cried together, grieving what we'd lost and what we'd learned too late. He kissed me goodbye at the door, refused to take back Margaret's ring, and left with quiet dignity. Edward sent a formal note. James informed me of your separation. I wish you success in your future. From him, it was practically warm. Margaret and I still meet for coffee. She's started sculpting again, a passion she abandoned after marrying Edward. Last month, she showed me a clay figure of two women by a lake. That's us, she said, in another life. I've been promoted to head teacher with a modest raise. I'm dating again. Carefully. Nothing serious yet. More importantly, I feel whole alone in a way I never have. My friends tease that I should write a book, how walking out of a fancy restaurant changed my life. Maybe I will. I ran into James downtown last week with a woman laughing at her phone. He saw me, his smile faltering, then returning. We exchanged polite updates. As I turned to leave, he touched my arm. Thank you, he said softly. For what? For having the courage I lacked. For showing me what it means to value myself. I smiled, free of the pain his memory once carried. Take care, James. I am, he said. For the first time, I really am. Walking away, I felt the final piece of the puzzle click into place. Sometimes loving someone means letting them go. Sometimes happily ever after isn't the fairy tale, but the life you build choice by choice. I slipped Margaret's ring into my pocket. I don't need the reminder anymore. I am the reminder of strength, of worth, of the power of walking away when staying costs too much. Was it worth the pain, the loss, the starting over? As I unlock the door to my little green house, mine alone, I know the answer without a doubt. Yes.